Billionaire's son bites housekeeper, but what she discovered next left everyone HEARTWARMED. Maria wiped her brow, squinting against the brightness that flooded the Whitaker estate. Today was just another day of over-the-top luxury and perfectly manicured lawns, where she scoured every corner for dust while dreaming about her son, Danny. 11 years old and full of talent, he wanted nothing more than to attend art school. Maria's heart swelled with both pride and worry. She had endured so much, juggling the roles of single mother and housekeeper in this posh neighborhood. Just as her spirits began to lift, a shriek broke the afternoon calm. "Hey, Maria!" Kyle Whitaker, the mischievous son of the billion-dollar family, darted across the marble floor, giggling. In his innocent underestimation of boundaries, he grabbed her arm and, in an impulsive fit of playfulness, playfully nipped her wrist. It was a light bite, but it stung both physically and emotionally. "Stop it!" Elizabeth, Kyle's mother, gasped, rushing into the room. "Kyle! What on earth have you done?" She glared at Maria, her voice dripping with skepticism. "You should have maintained better control." Maria's heart sank. She felt invisible and vulnerable, like a gust of wind would sweep her away. Deflated by Elizabeth's accusations, her mind swirled with thoughts about everything she did for Danny. It was a struggle for survival, but even then, she barely felt seen. After what felt like an eternity, Maria retreated to the estate's attic during her lunch break. Exhausted, she found solace among dusty boxes and forgotten memories. That was when she stumbled upon a trove of Kyle's hidden sketches, scattered like breadcrumbs behind the shadows. Pencil sketches burst with life, and the colors leaped off the pages, vibrant trees dancing in the wind and fantastical creatures darting across the paper. Shocked by his talent, Maria couldn't help but wonder if Kyle could hold the key to the very passion her son sought. Inspired, she decided to create a mural in the heart of the community park, a giant symbol of hope and unity. With Danny's encouragement, she scraped away the old paint and layered on her vision as the days dwindled toward the upcoming neighborhood festival. Each stroke brought a thrill, a warmth in her heart. Days passed. Excitement buzzed around the festival, with neighbors buzzing like bees over Maria's mural. The colors were a testament to dreams shared and cherished. A crowd had gathered, catching glimpses of her burgeoning creation. Maria's heart swelled with pride, a feeling of belonging she had longed for, but just as it seemed the community might finally embrace her, Elizabeth slipped through the crowd, her earlier tensions swirling back to life. "What is this?" she sneered, her words cutting like glass. "Is this what you call art?" Before this confrontation could escalate further, Maria felt the pit of her stomach twist. She had already fought so hard to be recognized. Shouldn't art resonate with everyone? She asked, her voice trembling. Don't we all deserve beauty? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The crowd held its breath, tensions palpable. Right then, Maria realized their worlds collided in a moment that could either heal or widen the rift. Would Elizabeth see past her privilege and fears? Would they confront their biases and find common ground before the festival began? Both women stood at a crossroads, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Everyone was waiting, and the air was thick with possibility, leaving them all on edge for what came next. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken words. Maria's heart pounded as she locked eyes with Elizabeth. It felt like the whole festival fading into a blur, the vibrant colors of her mural dimming in the face of the looming confrontation. She steadied herself, remembering why she was there. It wasn't just for her own dreams, but for Danny's too. Art isn't just about technique, Maria started, her voice firmer than she felt. It's about connection. My mural, it's for all of us. It's a place to dream, to feel. She could feel her emotions rising like a tide, urging her to tap into that vulnerability that could bridge their worlds. Elizabeth's expression softened for the briefest moment. But this is just messy, she retorted, the steel in her voice wavering. Messy can be beautiful, Danny chimed in, appearing by Maria's side. He glanced up at his mother, his big brown eyes filled with hope. Just like life. If everything was perfect, we wouldn't feel anything at all. Gasps fluttered through the crowd, and Maria caught sight of a few nodding heads among the neighbors surrounding them. Even Kyle stood quietly at the periphery, his own drawings tucked under his arm. Maria felt the warmth of acceptance beckoning her, wanting to break free from the tension. Elizabeth opened her mouth to retort, but instead, she hesitated. The air hung thick with potential transformation. Would she allow herself to be vulnerable? What do you think, Kyle? Maria prompted, moving past the tension with a gentle nudge. Do you see something in this artwork? Kyle stepped forward, sensing an opportunity to share. I think it's kinda cool. There are so many colors. It reminds me of the stories I'll write one day. His voice rang with sincerity and innocence, cutting through the animosity like a burst of sunlight on a cloudy day. Feeling the energy shift, Maria pressed on. We all have stories to share. That's what brings us together. I'm just a housekeeper, but I want to create something that lets everyone feel seen. Or invisible. Elizabeth whispered, her defenses crumbling. It was as if she was seeing Maria truly for the first time, recognizing the sacrifice masked beneath her employee title. Maria seized the moment. Exactly. We need to acknowledge each other's stories. Don't we want to build a community that celebrates everyone? My work might look different, but it comes from the same place as yours, Elizabeth. The crowd murmured, a blend of intrigue and sympathy rolling through them. With each heartbeat, the unsaid grew lighter, as if the paint on the mural itself could absorb the weight of the moment. Elizabeth's face was unreadable, caught somewhere between irritation and realization. Maybe this wasn't just about her son's antics or a housekeeper's art, maybe it was a chance to reach out, a moment of empathy they both needed. She faltered. The crowd leaned in, anticipating her response with bated breath. Would she reject Maria entirely, or could this be the first step toward unity? But before she could decide, Danny tugged at Maria's shirt, a grin lighting up his face. Can we add to it? Could Kyle and I help? I want to paint the sun in the corner. And maybe we could even have a path leading to the dreams we all want. The suggestion hung in the air, echoing the earlier sentiments of hope and community. Would Elizabeth join them and embrace this beautiful mess unraveling before her? Or would she retreat, allowing fear to dim the colors that had just started to bloom? All eyes watched her, a collective heartbeat waiting for the next move. And in that charged moment, the future of their community teetered on the edge, open to a world of possibilities. The plaza held its breath, a palpable tension swirling just below the surface. Maria's heart raced, caught between the excitement of the crowd and the uncertainty hanging in Elizabeth's decision. The bright colors of the mural glimmered under the evening sun, as if they too were waiting, eager to see the outcome. Elizabeth looked from Danny to Kyle, two young faces brimming with enthusiasm. And then, found her gaze landing on Maria's. There was a storm of emotions behind the polished exterior: confusion, frustration, perhaps even a flicker of envy at the fearless rawness displayed by the children. Kids, she began, but her voice faltered, making room for a silence that felt heavy with expectation. Maria couldn't help but notice how vulnerable Elizabeth seemed at that moment. Here was a woman, usually so composed, now cracking at the seams in front of their neighbors and friends. It was a shift that made Maria's heart ache for them both. Let us do it together, Maria encouraged, taking a small step closer, inviting Elizabeth into the moment. Let us paint something that speaks to all of us. A bridge, a sun, or whatever this community needs. Elizabeth looked away then, as though the mural could reveal something deeper, something she hadn't let herself acknowledge. Could she really step beyond the walls she'd built around herself? For the first time, she seemed to be contemplating just that. She whispered again, her voice barely more than a breath. Then, slowly, she lifted her hands, taking a long, deep breath. Okay. Let us paint together. Gasps of surprise mingled with hushed whispers from the crowd. It was as if the air had shifted, the tension easing into something softer, more hopeful. The crowd leaned in, surprised but thrilled. Danny bounced on his heels, beaming. Really, Mom? You mean it? Yes, Elizabeth finally said, her lips curling into an uncertain smile as she approached the mural. Let us paint that sun, Danny. In that instant, she reached out for the bright yellow paint. The first stroke was hesitant but filled with intention, blending with the vibrant colors Maria had poured her heart into. As the sun began to form, cheers erupted from the onlookers, their excitement swelling as they realized a moment of unity was unfolding before them. Kyle jumped in next, splattering darker shades of blue around the sun, depicting the night sky that would follow, while Danny added the golden rays that spread outward. With each brush stroke, pieces of their stories began to converge into a shared vision. As Elizabeth watched her son and Kyle breathe life into the mural, something shifted in her. The world outside her carefully curated routine faded away, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a true connection. Not just between herself and the art, but with the community around her. Maria saw the change too. Elizabeth was no longer just a barrier. She was a person with dreams, just like the others. I want to include the garden we used to have, Elizabeth suddenly declared, her confidence growing as her paintbrush moved with purpose. It had always been a source of joy for her family until life had pulled them apart. The words hung in the air, filled with possibility. What happened to it? Maria asked gently, eager to know more, while the crowd buzzed with anticipation. We lost it when. Elizabeth hesitated, looking at the mural and the laughter surrounding it. Maybe it was time for it to be part of something new. A new beginning. Excitement swept through the crowd, as if the mural itself were a tapestry, weaving their stories together. Each person picked up a paintbrush, eager faces smiling and colors mixing in a spontaneous burst of creativity, and as the sun set, casting golden rays across the artwork that now represented them all, Maria couldn't help but feel something shifting. Something beautiful was happening, but she sensed a deeper question lingering in the background, one that made her hope for the future. What would this shared experience unlock for Elizabeth? And what stories from their past were still waiting to be told? The sun dipped lower in the sky, warm light spilling like honey across the mural. Elizabeth lifted her brush and dipped it into a mix of vibrant greens. Her hand trembled slightly, but there was an undeniable spark in her eyes as she started to paint crisscrossing lines to represent the garden she once cherished. With each stroke, memories surged forth, tiny hands grasping for ripe tomatoes, the smell of fresh basil in the warm summer air, her children's laughter as they chased butterflies. It was beautiful, Elizabeth found herself saying, almost lost in the moment. We had roses, sunflowers, we even tried to grow pumpkins once. A small laugh escaped her lips, and the sound broke the barrier of tension that still hung in the air. Pumpkins? Danny exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. Can we do that again? Can we have a garden like that? His enthusiasm was infectious, and Elizabeth felt her heart swell. It was as if she was breathing life back into not just the mural, but into her own heart as well. Of course we can, she replied, her voice steadier now. But first, we need to paint this one. Kyle piped in, let us paint strawberries too. I loved those. The crowd chimed in, each person adding their own ideas, their own memories. The energy was electric. As more colors splashed onto the mural, Elizabeth noticed Maria painting a sprawling community park all around the garden. It was a bright patch of red and pink where children could play, a place for families to gather. Let us make sure everyone has a place to feel safe and happy, Maria said, brushing strokes alongside Elizabeth. Everything felt important now: the stories, the laughter, the deep-rooted ties that bound them all together. Even the onlookers joined in, picking up brushes, their hands stained with paint, solidarity blooming like fresh flowers around the canvas. The connections formed through those strokes of paint whispered promises of healing and hope. Each vibrant color represented not just a part of the mural, but a part of who they were together. As the mural transformed, Elizabeth felt lighter. Memories didn't have to weigh her down, they could lift her up instead. And in that moment of vulnerability, with laughter ringing around her, she opened her heart wide. "Do you think we could plant a tree too?" she asked, a wild idea taking root within her. "A big, strong tree? It can be the center of the garden." "Yeah. And it can give shade for the picnics we'll have," Kyle shouted, bouncing with excitement. Just then, someone from the crowd shouted, "Why don't we paint a giant mural on the community center too? Make it a place for everyone to see." Hope ignited within Elizabeth. They had started something here today, something bigger than a mural. It was about coming together, about remembering what they could build. The thought made her smile as brightly as the sun being painted above. As they finished up for the evening, the mural stood alive with color and stories, but a fragility remained, an uncertainty as to where this journey would lead them. Maria leaned against the mural, watching the sunset glow. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" she said softly, sharing a hesitant smile with Elizabeth. "It feels that way," Elizabeth agreed, but there was still a question lingering in her heart. How much of her past could she reveal? Would it strengthen their connection, or would it push them away? As they stepped back, admiring the transforming mural that now represented a shared vision, a child's voice echoed in the air, "What's next?" And with that question, the evening's promise glimmered, anticipation tangling with the whispers of their pasts. What awaited them next? What stories would intertwine, and could they really find a way to grow a new garden from what remained? The air was filled with a pleasant buzz as the sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. Elizabeth stepped back from the mural, her breath catching in her throat. The vibrant colors danced and sang with memories that felt both old and new, and anticipation tingled in the pit of her stomach. The laughter of the children still echoed around her, but now it was accompanied by the low hum of adults sharing memories, dreams, and hopes. "What if we expand the garden?" Danny's voice cut through her thoughts. "Like a community garden, where everyone can plant something?" The suggestion hung in the air, sparking instant excitement. Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd, and Elizabeth couldn't help but smile at the infectious energy. The idea of a garden that belonged to everyone, where each individual root shared in the strength of the whole, resonated deeply within her. "That's brilliant, Danny!" Elizabeth exclaimed, looking at his beaming face. "But how do we get started?" "We'll need soil, seeds, and a lot of love." "I can help with soil," Maria offered, her eyes lighting up. "My uncle runs a nursery. I think he might donate some." "Well, I have seeds from last year's garden," Elizabeth chimed in, her heart racing at the possibility. "And I know how to plant them." The group began brainstorming. Ideas flew, mixing like the colors on the mural. A potluck to fundraise, a weekend workday to start the planting, even coordinating with local businesses for support. Each idea built upon the last, forging tighter bonds among them. Elizabeth couldn't remember the last time she felt so connected. A sudden chill whisked through her, a reminder of a past filled with doubt and sadness. What if the connections they were forming now were fragile? What if life threw them another curveball? Taking a deep breath, she pushed the doubts aside. "Okay, I'm in. Let us make this garden something special together." Cheers erupted, lifting the atmosphere as everyone rallied around the vision. Elizabeth felt a rush of warmth seep through her. This was what she had longed for, a community bound not just by proximity but by shared purpose and joy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the edges of their world with golden light, Elizabeth noticed a few of the older folks quietly observing from a distance. They seemed shy, hesitant to join in the excitement. She felt a tug in her heart and realized that change wasn't just about starting something new but about embracing everyone in the fold. "Hey, can we invite folks from the neighborhood too?" she suggested to the group, eyes sparkling. "Let us ask our neighbors if they'd like to share their ideas or join in." "Yeah. Who wouldn't want in on a beautiful garden?" someone called back, and the energy shifted toward inclusiveness. Just then, as the crowd started getting vocal with enthusiasm, Elizabeth reached for her phone and took a picture of the mural, a snapshot of this moment, this dream. She would use it to reach out to the entire neighborhood. They would need everyone's hands and hearts along the way. "Elizabeth, look!" Maria shouted, pointing behind her. Feeling the thrill of the unknown, Elizabeth turned to see two children running toward them holding what appeared to be a tattered old map. "We found this buried at the playground," one of them yelled, breathless with excitement. "What's on the map?" Elizabeth asked, curiosity piqued. "I think it's a treasure map," the other child exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder. Laughter erupted, but a thrill of adventure sparked within Elizabeth. Could it possibly lead to something significant for their new garden? An unexpected community treasure, perhaps? She felt a surge of hope. What awaited them could be far more than they had imagined. But then again, it could just be a game. Still, the possibilities stretched before them like the vast sky above. "Let us see where it leads," Elizabeth said, renewed excitement bubbling within her. And as they gathered, studying the map with wide eyes, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the start of another amazing journey, both for them as a community and for her as well. What surprises and lessons did this treasure hunt hold in store? The children leaned over the map, their faces lit up with a mix of wonder and mischief. Elizabeth knelt down beside them, heart racing at the unexpected turn of the afternoon. The torn edges of the faded paper hinted at stories long forgotten, a treasure waiting to be unearthed that might just redefine her community's spirit. "Okay, let us take a closer look," she said, her voice barely containing her excitement. The group gathered around, eyes widening as they traced the scribbles and symbols. "What do you think this is?" "I think it shows landmarks. Look, that's the old oak tree, and hey, isn't that the fountain?" Danny pointed, his share of enthusiasm infectious. "Yeah. And there's the playground," Maria chimed in, bouncing on her toes. Elizabeth's heart beat faster. The map had suddenly become more than a piece of paper. It was a bridge to discovery. What if this treasure led to something they could use for the garden? Perhaps they would find tools, seeds, or even something unique that could inspire their new venture. "Let us split up into groups," she proposed. "We can cover more ground that way. We'll meet back here in an hour to share what we find. And remember, it's about the adventure, not just the prize at the end." Excitement rippled through the crowd like a wave. The laughter of children echoed as they darted off in different directions. Elizabeth felt a thrill wash over her. This wasn't just about digging for lost treasures, it was about building memories together. She teamed up with Maria and Danny, their energy fueling her desire to explore. "Which spot should we check first?" Maria asked, glancing at the map with a determined gleam in her eye. "The playground," Danny shouted, pointing. "That's where I think we'll find something cool." With quickening steps, they raced toward the playground, momentum building with each stride. As they arrived, Elizabeth's heart swelled at the sight of the children's laughter filling the air, echoing through the swings and slides. It was a simple moment, yet so profound, reminding her of the innocence and joy that came from shared adventure. They began digging in the sandy soil near the base of the slide, excitement bubbling in the air. Danny pulled up small stones and pieces of wood, while Maria sifted through the sand, her hands growing dirtier with each effort. Elizabeth knelt beside them, her heart swelling with warmth and laughter. "I think I'll put this in the garden," she smiled, holding up a worn, rusted horseshoe they uncovered. "A little luck for our community garden." Just then, something shiny caught Maria's eye. "What's that?" She leaned down, her fingers brushing against something half buried in the ground. Slowly, she unearthed a small metal box, intricately carved, its corners rounded beautifully. "Wow!" Elizabeth gasped, sharing a wide-eyed look with her friends. "Open it." Holding her breath, Maria unclasped the lid, and the group leaned in, eager to see what lay within. Inside, they discovered a collection of old marbles, colorful and iridescent. Along with them, a tattered letter penned in a wobbly handwriting spoke of friendship and dreams, penned by children long since grown. Elizabeth's heart soared with a bittersweet realization. This box, its contents held stories of hope and connection, stories that echoed the very reason they were gathered here. "This is incredible," she murmured, unsure if the tears brimming in her eyes were from joy or nostalgia. "What does it say?" Danny asked, peering closely at the fragile paper. Elizabeth began to read aloud, her voice steady as she unfolded the tale of children who believed in building a better world, one small garden at a time. She could feel the energy of the crowd behind her, whispering their connection to the past, reinforcing the bonds of the present. As she finished, silence fell over them, voices lost in a shared understanding of what mattered. This was a treasure in its own right, an affirmation that building a community meant cherishing each fragment of their history. "Let us honor this story," Elizabeth suggested. "We can create a plaque in the garden with this letter, celebrating the spirit of those kids." Cheers erupted from the group, joy soaring higher than the sun as they realized they had woven together another thread of connection. But as they packed up the marbles and letter to bring back to the mural, a cool breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it an air of mystery that reminded Elizabeth there was more to come. What other treasures would they discover in this journey together? Had this map simply been the beginning of something even larger? The thrill lingered in her heart as they headed back, knowing their adventure was far from over. The sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink as Elizabeth and the children made their way back to the meeting point. The laughter from their discovery echoed in her ears, mingling with the rustling leaves overhead. They carefully held the metal box and its treasures close, the excitement still bubbling within them. As they arrived, Elizabeth glanced around, noticing that the other groups had returned as well. Their faces sparkled with the joy of discovery, each clutching their own treasures wrapped in stories. "What did you all find?" she asked, her voice bright with curiosity. A small girl named Lily stepped forward, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "We found an old kite. It has so many colors. And it was stuck in a tree, but we pulled it down." She held up the tattered remnants, their bright colors faded but still vibrant against the dimming light. "Wow! That's amazing!" Elizabeth cheered, kneeling to inspect the kite. The creativity behind it ignited a spark in her mind. "We could use it for decorations in our garden." David, another boy from a different group, shouted, "We found a whole box of bubble wands. We can make a bubble party." He waved the colorful sticks enthusiastically, and the crowd erupted with cheers. As each child shared their finds, Elizabeth felt overwhelmed with a sense of belonging. They weren't just digging for hidden objects, they were digging up smiles, laughter, and the joyful spirit of their community. Sharing stories and dreams, the garden was no longer just a patch of dirt, it was a shared vision, a canvas for their hopes. After everyone shared their discoveries, Elizabeth suggested they put together a time capsule, a way to remember this adventure and everything they had unearthed. A buzz of approval rippled through the group. "We can include the letter, the marbles, and maybe even the kite," Maria exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Let us write our own letter too," Danny added. "Then, when we open it years from now, we can see how much we've grown." Elizabeth watched as the children animatedly bandied ideas around, their imaginations bursting like fireworks. They began to gather supplies: a sturdy box, a piece of paper, and pens. As the kids wrote their letters, Elizabeth found herself peeking into the future. She could see these gentle spirits shaping their community with the love they were cultivating in this moment. "All right, who wants to read their letter first?" she asked, her heart fluttering with anticipation. "I will," called Lily, stepping forward with the confidence of someone ready to share her dreams. The others fell silent, their eyes fixed on her as she began to read. "I hope that someday, everyone in our town has a garden," Lily announced. "And that it is filled with flowers and friendship. I want people to remember us and all the fun we had." As Elizabeth listened to the words weave together hopes of unity and creativity, she felt a surge of emotion. It was as if the children were shaping a promise not only to each other but to the world around them. In that moment, Elizabeth realized that this was what community truly meant. It was about nurturing relationships, reviving aspirations, and unearthing the simple joys. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting shadows around them, a sudden gust of wind swept through, carrying with it a faint whisper that sent shivers down Elizabeth's spine. What lay ahead was still uncertain, but in that breeze, she felt a hint of something more, a story waiting to unfold. "Let us hurry and finish up," Elizabeth urged. "The night's still young, and who knows what other surprises await us." With renewed determination, they all worked together under the soft glow of streetlights, unaware that something extraordinary was lurking just around the corner, waiting to intertwine with their adventure and bring unexpected connections, ones that would challenge not only their sense of community but their understanding of themselves. As the night deepened, the soft glow of streetlights began to dance with the shadows of twilight. Laughter and chatter filled the air as the children shared excited ideas for their time capsule. Elizabeth felt the warmth of their spirits surrounding her, a cocoon of hope against the lingering chill of the night. But the whispering wind had not left her thoughts. Something felt different, almost alive, as if the universe itself was spinning a new thread into their adventure. "Okay, who's next?" Elizabeth prompted, her smile bright as she encouraged Danny to step forward. He shuffled his feet, shyly clutching his letter to his chest. I'll go," he murmured, taking a deep breath. The group's attention shifted like a wave toward him, and in that moment, he transformed, standing a little taller. "I want to write that everyone should be happy, even when things are hard. And I want us all to remember to stick together, no matter what." His eyes beamed with sincerity, and the children clapped, the warmth in his words wrapping around them like a hug. Just then, an odd rustling reached Elizabeth's ears. She turned, brow furrowed, scanning the edges of the garden. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, pulling her heart momentarily into her throat. It was Mr. Thompson, the owner of the estate next door, known not just for his wealth but for his reputation as a recluse. Rumor had it that he seldom interacted with anyone beyond his gated mansion, opting for his solitary lifestyle. "Evening, Elizabeth," he called out, his voice gravelly but warm. The children froze, wide-eyed and unsure of how to react. "Mr. Thompson, what brings you here?" Elizabeth asked, her mind racing between surprise and caution. "I saw the light and thought I'd check in," he replied, stepping closer. As he moved into the light, his face softened, revealing a man well into his 60s, yet with a spark of curiosity in his eyes. The children stared, their initial fear melting into awe. "It's all right, kids. He's kind," Elizabeth assured, hoping to ease the tension. "What are you all doing?" he inquired, genuinely interested. Lily stepped forward, clutching her kite like a banner of courage. "We're making a time capsule to remember our adventures." Mr. Thompson paused, a smile breaking across his face. "A time capsule? That's remarkable," he said with a sincerity that surprised everyone. "I remember when I was your age, we did something similar. It sparked so much joy." The children exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued. This was a different side of Mr. Thompson. "Can we see what you wrote?" David blurted out, his innocent challenge hanging in the air like a balloon, ready to pop. "Why, of course," Mr. Thompson chuckled. "I might just have something to add to your capsule." He pulled a small, weathered book from his jacket pocket and held it gently as if it were made of glass. "What is it?" Maria asked, her eyes gleaming with intrigue. "It's a collection of my own little stories," he explained, his voice carrying a hint of nostalgia. "Stories about kindness and bravery." As the children clamored around him, eager for their encounter to transform further, Elizabeth felt a warmth envelop her heart. The garden, once just a patch of dirt, was blossoming into something more, a bridge stretching across old divides. "Let us write a new letter, incorporating Mr. Thompson's stories," she suggested, her voice rising with excitement. But before they could dive into this new chapter, another gust of wind swirled around them. It was stronger this time, carrying a scent of adventure mixed with a touch of fear. The darkness seemed to whisper secrets, the shadows shifting in a way that felt almost magical. "Come on, everyone. Let us focus back on our letters." As they busily scribbled, Elizabeth couldn't shake the feeling that tonight was the beginning of something significant. Something that would forever change not just how they saw their community but also how the world might see them. And in that moment, beneath the starlit sky, Elizabeth couldn't help but wonder, what other hidden stories still simmered in the hearts around them, waiting to be uncovered? The air prickled with anticipation. As the wind continued to swirl, the shadows danced like playful spirits, tugging at Elizabeth's thoughts. Every child was lost in their own world, scribbling letters and whispering secrets, but the energy around Mr. Thompson felt electric, charged with possibilities. "What kind of stories?" Danny asked, his voice barely above a whisper as he peeked at the book in Mr. Thompson's hands. "Stories about moments that changed me," Mr. Thompson replied, his gaze drifting back into the garden's depths, as if he were reflecting on a forgotten time. "Like the time I helped a neighbor in need. Or when a simple act of kindness turned a difficult day into a beautiful memory." A hush fell over the group, their imaginations igniting with visions of adventure and courage. Mr. Thompson's words wrapped around them, weaving a tapestry of connection. Elizabeth felt a flicker of something inside, an understanding that kindness had the power to ignite change, even in the hardest hearts. "Could we hear one of those stories?" Lily asked, her voice laced with the innocence of childhood. The kids gathered closer, their anticipation palpable. Mr. Thompson smiled softly, and for a moment, he seemed transformed, a gray-haired man shedding layers of solitude. "All right," he began, folding into his memories like an old friend. "There was a time when I was just a boy, much like you all. I had a friend, Tommy. We used to spend hours building forts and playing pretend. But one day, Tommy's family faced hardship, and he had to move away. I remember feeling lost, like a piece of my world had been taken." He paused, his eyes glazing, pulling the children even deeper. They hung on his every word, seeing the once isolated man as a child, vulnerable and afraid. "I wanted to help him, so I gathered up my savings. I bought him a toy, something simple, but it represented our friendship. When I gave it to him, he smiled, and I realized that even small gestures could hold great power," he continued, his voice thick with emotion. "Wow," Maria breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "That's amazing." The children turned to each other, the warmth of the story weaving their hearts together. Elizabeth's heart swelled. This man, once a figure of mystery, was revealing pieces of himself through the lens of their shared youth. "What if we wrote something in our letters about kindness?" David suggested, his face lit with excitement. "Like the stories we've just heard." "Yeah." The kids cheered, pens racing across their papers once more. Each letter began to shift, incorporating themes of bravery, compassion, and connection. Mr. Thompson looked on, his smile warm and reflective. It was as though the facade around his heart was cracking open, allowing a glimpse of vulnerability to shine through. He felt welcomed into their circle, a piece of community he had missed for too long. But beneath the laughter and writing, that breeze whispered again, as if reminding Elizabeth of that elusive thread connecting them all. It wasn't just stories. It was the invitation to create their own adventure, their own history. The children continued writing, lost in a flurry of words, but Elizabeth stole a glance at Mr. Thompson, a question boiling beneath her skin. What had made him retreat for so long? Before she could voice her curiosity, the wind howled fiercely, rattling the trees overhead. It sent a chill through the air. Everything felt charged with intent, as if the universe was pressing them toward a revelation. Everyone, Elizabeth said, her heart pounding. What if we also buried a piece of our community's heart in the capsule? What if we wrote something for everyone who feels alone? The children nodded genuinely, glancing at Mr. Thompson. His eyes sparkled with gratitude. They had just pulled back another layer of connection. Yet, amidst the excitement, Elizabeth felt an unexpected longing, something still out there, waiting. Tomorrow night, I'll share a secret with you all. A hidden story that ties into my own, Mr. Thompson promised, a hint of mystery dancing across his face, and suddenly, the promise of the next chapter bubbled in the air, igniting curiosity anew. What secret could he possibly hold that would change everything? Would it draw them closer to a past they knew nothing about? The sun blazed brightly, casting golden rays over the community park. The vibrant colors of the mural shimmered as if reflecting the joy in everyone's hearts. The whole neighborhood buzzed with excitement as they gathered for the opening of their community garden, an idea born out of shared stories, laughter, and the simple act of coming together. Maria stood in front of the mural, her heart swelling with pride. She couldn't believe how far they had all come. Just weeks ago, she was still navigating the challenges of being a single mother and housekeeper, feeling invisible in a world of luxury. Now, her son Danny and the community had helped her rediscover her voice and purpose. "Mom, look!" Danny shouted, waving a colorful seed packet. His eyes sparkled with hope and determination. "We're going to plant these today." Everywhere she turned, she saw smiling faces, families, neighbors, and friends ready to dig into the soil. Elizabeth stood nearby, wearing a wide grin as she pulled out the rusty shovel she'd unearthed from her shed. Their connection had blossomed into something genuine, transforming Elizabeth from a guarded figure into a friend. "Let's get started," Maria called out, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. The community came alive around them, each person grabbing shovels, gloves, and garden tools, eager to contribute. As they worked, Maria caught Elizabeth's eye, and they shared a knowing smile. They had both experienced personal transformations, opening their hearts to vulnerability and unity. Just a few weeks ago, they had stood on opposite sides, hesitant to bridge the gap between them. Now, they were actively building something beautiful together. "Do you remember the day we painted the mural?" Elizabeth asked, her fingers caked with dirt. "That was the spark. The moment when we started to bring everything together." "Absolutely," Maria replied, her voice filled with warmth. "Everyone deserves a place to belong." Elizabeth nodded, her eyes softening. "Thank you, Maria, for reminding me of what really matters." As the day progressed, stories and laughter filled the air. Children ran around with soil-covered hands, planting seeds, while adults shared plans for future community events. Elizabeth and Maria exchanged gardening tips, both of them marveling at how easy it was to talk now, how their shared experiences had created something so much stronger than either of them could have imagined. "Let's plant the sunflower at the entrance. It'll be the first thing people see," Danny proposed, his excitement contagious. The group rallied around him, and together they began to plant the tallest and brightest blooms. With every seed dropped into the ground, hopes of a shared future sprouted alongside them. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, an unexpected visitor appeared. Mr. Thompson approached with a twinkle in his eye, carrying a small wooden box. The previous night had revealed more of his hidden layers, shedding the isolation that had surrounded him for so long. "Remember the stories I told you?" he said, his voice steady and warm. "Tonight, I'd like to share my story not just with you all, but with the whole neighborhood." Curiosity rippled through the crowd. We would love to hear it. Someone shouted, and everyone turned to face him with eager anticipation. In a hushed silence, Mr. Thompson began to narrate his tale, speaking of kindness and connection, of a young boy who felt lost after losing his best friend. As he spoke, each word wove together a patchwork of shared understanding, echoing the sentiments felt by everyone. As the last rays of sun disappeared behind the horizon, the crowd erupted in applause, realizing they had not only planted seeds in the earth but also roots of friendship and compassion within their community. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," Maria said, stepping forward, "for letting us into your heart. We've all connected today in ways we never thought possible." With that, the crowd erupted in agreement, voices mingling in a beautiful symphony of community. As darkness settled in, twinkling lights illuminated the now thriving community garden. Laughter bounced off the walls of their newly united space, a backdrop to the reflections shared among friends, neighbors, and families. This was only the beginning. They were no longer simply housekeeper and billionaire's wife, they were community builders, friends, and family, all encouraging one another to plant not just flowers, but seeds of trust, love, and dreams. Maria felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes and a soft smile grace her lips. This is home. As the evening wrapped its arms around them, Maria looked out over the garden, a canvas painted with connection, dreams, and the promise of tomorrow. The sense of possibility hung thick in the air, freeing them all to imagine a brighter future together, one brush stroke, one seed, one shared story at a time. And in that moment, on the threshold of their dreams, silence turned into joyful cheer, a true celebration of their transformed lives, their intertwined stories, and the vibrant community they had built together. Now, more than ever, it felt like home. That if you haven't yet, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for these heartfelt stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find this transformation. And remember to comment with your reactions and feelings about this beautiful ending. Don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of growth and connection.